Hey y'all, welcome to Truly Potted. It's been a little while since we've had a video from Truly Potted, and so I thought I would come to you today. I have been in my pot garden a good chunk of the day today, summarizing my potted herb situation. So I wanted to take just a couple of minutes and let you know what I do in the summertime. It's funny, that in the state of Texas I have a winterizing my pots situation and a summarizing my pot situation. Even herbs that are full sun a lot of times can't take the direct sun for a long time, or else they start to either go to seed, they go to flower, or they burn, or they change flavor, which I don't like any of that. So I wanted to show you today a couple of things that you can do to try to keep your herbs going mighty fine, even in the summertime when it is oh so hot. We've got some great things going on in the garden today. My tomatoes are doing pretty well. This guy right here is turning a little interesting color. I'm not sure exactly what that's all about, but he does have so many tomatoes on him, so I'm just trying to kind of let him be. I fertilized today. Tomatoes are good, peppers are good. And then you'll notice I actually moved my herbs. So some of my herbs, the thyme can stay. So this guy right here and these thymes over here, they are really taking the sun quite well. I'm happy with the way that they're dealing with the sun. But some of the other stuff is not doing so well. And so I actually have my herbs now under an awning. Now, I am not suggesting that you go in an entirely absent sun situation, but I don't have a place that is only morning sun, which is what I would suggest that you do, is to try to get your pots from that hot afternoon sun into a more morning sun situation. Just because the afternoon sun is really, really hot and scorchy. So I have moved these herbs here, and they will either be happy here or they will not. Last year I had them right here, but I had them inside of this trug. This year I have a lot more herbs, and so they're not going to fit there, and this little guy is on wheels. So we're just going to try this out. They do get a little bit of sun late in the day, and they'll get a little bit in the morning. So here's to hoping that that will do well. And then I moved some things over here. So I've got I moved my kales. I moved this guy right here. I actually moved my sage because he was just looking really like Bernie. So one option that you have, if you notice that your herbs are getting a little bit of burn on them, or you can't keep them watered the way that you need to, I have been watering every day and it just is not enough, and I don't have the time to come out here and water 2 and 3 times a day. So and you know, they don't really, I don't know that they really like that either. So I move some of it so that they're not going to have to deal with that much sun. So that's one of your options, is to move your pots into a place where they get enough sun, but maybe not so much, maybe not too much. So in this area, on this side where the pot statue was, during the winter time, it needs that much sun. I must have my herbs out and in this place when it's wintertime. So that's part of my winterizing, is moving everything out back into the full rays of sun. It's just in the summertime I've got to pull back a little bit on the sun. Another thing that you can do is water. Check on your plants at least once a day, I would say, at least while it's starting to get into these like high 90s, 100 degrees. You're going to want to pay attention to whether your plants are looking sad or not, and if they are, water. If you're afraid that you're overwatering, a good way to tell if your plant needs water is to pick it up. Does it feel light? I did that to this, to my jalapeno earlier today. He was looking droopy, and I was like, but I watered you yesterday, and he's in a big pot, and so I was like, I'm not really sure. Picked it up, sure enough, light as a feather. I could have thrown it, and I didn't even, he needed more water. So if you're confused or you're just not really sure if you need water or not, try giving your pot a lift. In your mind, kind of subtract the weight of the pot that you have it in if it's ceramic. But if it just feels really light, or just, you know, the weight of the pot that you're picking up, give it some water, especially if it looks like it needs it. Another option that you have for summerizing your plants, I would say in the winter time, it's really difficult. Sometimes you can overwater. Well, right now you're not really going to have as much of that problem, especially because the sun just burns all the water away. So during the winter time, I try to take all of the bottoms out of all of my pots. So some of these, like you'll see this guy right here, he doesn't have a bottom. He's lifted up off the ground, which I prefer anyway, but he doesn't have a bottom on him. And there are some pots that I have that don't have bottoms, and they don't come with bottoms. But a good way to give yourself a little bit of a reservoir so that you don't have to water as often is to have a tray underneath your big pots or even your small pots, so that it can soak water up from the bottom, or the water evaporates from the bottom and actually gives your plant water. So today I went through, and as many pot bottoms as I had, even if they're not matching, I put pot bottoms on some of my pots that I was having a hard time with giving all the water. So you'll notice this guy right here has a new purple little tray. This guy over here has a little black one. I gave my mint that's in this terracotta pot, I gave that a tray just because, you know, it's thin, and the pot is very thin, and it just wasn't getting enough. So I watered it really, really well, and I'm letting water sit in the bottom of that. And so that's a great way to summarize your pots as well. If your pots have bottoms, you don't have to worry about that. You just have to worry about it in the wintertime when you don't overwater, so that you don't overwater your plants. Keep on keeping on with the fertilizer sort of situation, whatever works best for you. Right now, with you watering maybe once a day, or even every other day, every 3 days if you're lucky, you're flushing through those nutrients every single time water comes out the bottom of your pot. That's not a problem. Your plant needs water as much as it needs the nutrients in the soil. So just make sure that you're utilizing a fertilizer that works good for you on a regular basis, whether that's every 2 weeks or every 4 weeks or every 6 weeks, whatever it says on the package. Just make sure that you're continuing on with your fertilizer sort of situation. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I would also say that if you have any herbs or even flowers that are looking big and but maybe kind of struggling a little bit, or if you've got anything that just has gone kind of crazy, one of the things that I am still noticing, but it's getting a little bit better, a couple of weeks ago I repotted this oregano plant, and as you can see, it's gotten big and bushy again. I'm really excited about that, but it is quite large. Now, one of the things I did, you'll notice I put a little plastic tray on his underneath to try to keep him watered, because he just was not able to do it. I moved him out of the hot sun. He'll have morning sun now and a little bit of the afternoon, which is just what he likes. But you'll notice that there's actually like new growth happening low, and I love that. And these are super sweet and a little bit less woody. I may go through, and he's got some of these flowers, I may go through and cut him back again. And that's something that you may find that's useful for you. to clip back some of your herbs if they've kind of gone crazy and maybe they start to look straggly. Make sure that they're not getting blazed by the sun. Do your clipping at a time of the day when maybe it's not the hottest, and make sure that he gets a good water that day if you're going to be doing some clipping. So those are the tips and tricks I have for summerizing your pots. Keep on keeping on. I know that it's a little bit difficult to try to keep pots when it's this hot outside. It is almost a daily job, which is great if you're in quarantine, but if you're going back to work and dealing with your daily stresses and things, it can be a lot. Or if you've got a family, it can be a lot to take care of your pot garden, but it's so super rewarding. I've got some crazy things going on in the pot garden I'm really excited about. There's nothing like coming into your garden and being able to pick things and put them straight on your dinner table. Last week I made a meatloaf, and it was entirely, the meat was obviously from the store, but everything else that I put in my meatloaf, and anybody who's had my meatloaf before, there was some Swiss chard in there, there's some beautiful sage leaves in there, there were those tiny little onions that we saw over there, there were some herbs. I don't think I used one of the peppers, but I've used my tiny little tomatoes. So these are my peppers. I've used my tiny little tomatoes as garnish for all of the really cute things that I've made in the last couple of weeks. I've just taken maybe one or two of those super sweet and poppy little tomatoes and put them on the top, and they kind of roast down. So there really is nothing like being able to go out your back steps and pick something that you're going to put on your plate. So it's definitely worth it to summarize your pots, and to put in the work that will keep you having that opportunity. And the summer doesn't last forever. So at a time, fall will come and we won't have to worry quite as much about it. Some of these will need to be winterized, and we'll talk more about that at that time. But they're living things, they're breathing things, but they give us breath. And so I hope that you continue on your pot journey. Love you bunches at TrulyPotted, and I will see you next time.